I love an enthusiastic intro, but it's kind of a mediocre shooter. Same name, different game, image fight. Alright friends, I'll be honest. I want to be a little short and sweet for this May episode of Same Name Different Game, because I've got some big things in the pipeline for this summer. So let's get right to it. A little history on Irem's Image Fight. In 1987, Irem struck gold with R-Type. The game is legendary for both its quality and difficulty. It's a great side-scrolling shooter that was ported to numerous systems. This episode, not about R-Type. The following year, Irem tried to catch lightning in a bottle once more with a vertically scrolling shooter when they released Image Fight into arcades. The game did well enough that ports to the NES, PC Engine, X68000, and FM Towns were ordered up. The only port of Image Fight to hit these shores was the NES version. This is going to be our first game. Now, whether due to Nintendo's draconian third-party policies at the time, or maybe just because the Turbografx never really caught on in the US, the PC Engine version stayed exclusive to Japan. This is going to be our second game for this episode. The X68000 and FM Towns computers never left Japan at all, as platforms, so that explains their absence and why I'm not covering them for this episode. The gameplay is very straightforward. You fly upwards, blowing up anything that gets in your way. Power-ups come in the form of forces, much like R-Type. Unfortunately, while they act as a one-time shield, getting them destroyed is the only way to get rid of them. So if you have one, you can't pick up a different one. The one you have has to be destroyed first. This can be incredibly frustrating at times. The other power-ups are called pods. You can have up to 3 of them at a time, and they're one of the coolest things about this game. Pods come in red and blue. Blue ones always fire forwards. They're kind of useless. Red ones fire in the opposite direction that you're moving, so they're extremely useful. The last thing you need to know about your ship is that you can change the speed at will, which is cool, and there's a little morph animation that goes along with it. As far as gameplay is concerned, there's one major thing you need to know that differentiates this game from other shooters at the time. The first 5 stages award you a percentage grade. Now, the rubric for said grades sort of escapes me, but if you don't get a good enough grade on these first 5 stages, you're forced to repeat all 5 of these first stages until you get the requisite grade. So that's kind of awful. Fortunately, getting the required grades is actually very easy. In fact, the game itself, especially the NES version, is really easy, which is one of the biggest problems. The PC Engine version is less easy, but the reason for that is terrible. Okay, let me break it down for you. Everything in this game is huge. It's like Irem was so enamored with the ability to do high-quality graphics that they forgot they weren't working with arcade hardware. The arcade version of Image Fight used a tate, or a horizontally oriented monitor. It seems to me like when they moved the game over to the PC Engine, they kept everything the same size, except they lost about 1/3 of the screen from the top. So everything is cramped, and your ship is really big, and the hitbox seems to be almost your entire huge ship. Not good. Just take a look.
I mean, clearly the PC Engine game is better looking, but since everything is supersized, it's that much more difficult.
So, aside from everything being giant in the PC Engine version, the games are practically identical. Stage layouts are the same, enemy placement is almost the same, bosses are the same, power-ups are the same, controls are the same. I hate to seem like I'm doing some false advertising here, but this episode is kinda same name, same game. So let's just cut to the chase and look at the graphics and listen to the sound. I wish I had more to say, but I don't. I just don't. The most noteworthy thing about this game is that Hiroshi Iuchi of Treasure said it was the game that inspired him to make Radiant Silvergun, a game that's really much better than this one and a significantly more excellent use of your time. So I would recommend that one over this one for sure. As a matter of course, I'll go ahead and give the edge. It goes to the NES version. It's slightly more playable, but ultimately, at its core, Image Fight is just a mediocre shooter. It's not horrible, and there's really nothing to write home about. It's a hard recommendation on two systems that have so many better shooters available. There's also a sequel. It was exclusive to the PC Engine CD, and I considered doing an episode of Obscure Old Games about it, but it's just not that good. It's more of the same, and given that it's on a CD system, you'd expect the bar to be raised, and it really just kind of stays where it's at, and the difficulty spikes pretty hard too, so that one's a tough recommendation. So hey, thanks for sticking with me this month. Come back in June when I will start the Summer of Sega, leading up to the 25th anniversary of the Sega Mega Drive Sega Genesis release in the United States. So check that out. We'll see you then.